Okay guys, so in class we've been working on solving quadratic equations. Okay, so I wanted to put a little mini lesson up for you just in case you need a little bit extra help on solving these. Okay, I have a quadratic equation here, x squared plus 8x plus 5 equals 0. Okay, and I'm going to solve this equation using two methods, and we'll see that I get the same answer regardless of which method I use. Okay. So the first method I'm going to use is completing the square. Okay, so this is our equation. It's in standard form, and we're lucky because the leading coefficient is already 1. So remember, when you're trying to use completing the square, you got to have standard form to begin with, and the leading coefficient needs to be 1. Okay, so once you have that, you're going to keep all your x's together. So x squared plus 8x. And you're going to send the number to the other side. Okay? So we're going to send that 5 over to the negative side, which is going to make it negative 5. Okay? And we're going to prepare to complete the square by putting our blanks in there. Okay? So now we need to fill that blank. Okay? Alright, so to fill the blank, and this is the key to the whole process. If you do this right, okay, you're well on your way. Okay? Locate your x number. So the x number is 8. Okay, the x number is 8. Take half, which is 4, and square it. And if we add something to the left-hand side, we got to add that to the right-hand side as well. Okay? So we end up with, on the left-hand side, a factor squared. Okay, and that factor is always going to be x, and then the number that's going to go with the x is always going to be whatever we got when we took half. So when we took half, we got positive 4. So we're going to have x plus 4 squared. And on the right-hand side, we're going to have negative 5 plus 4 squared. Well, 4 squared is 16, so negative 5 plus 16, which is 11. Okay? At this point, to get our quantity squared out of here, I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So the square root of a quantity squared is just the quantity, so I have x plus 4. And don't forget, when I take the square root of both sides in an equation, I'm always going to end up with plus or minus, and I have square root of 11. Well, that's not a perfect square number, and I can't simplify it. Don't plug it into your calculator. Just leave it square root of 11. So guys, our final answer, getting x by itself, would be x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 11. Okay? So that's how we would do this problem using completing the square. We also could do this problem using the quadratic formula. Okay? Alright, so here we'll rewrite our equation at the top. We have x squared plus 8x plus 5. We're doing the same problem, just different method. Okay? So we could use the quadratic formula. Now let's remember the quadratic formula. Okay? Negative b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. This is our quadratic formula. Okay? So in this problem, our a value is 1, our b value is 8, and our c value is 5. Okay, so b is 8, so negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared. Well, b is 8, so b squared would be 64 minus 4 times a times c. And that whole thing is over 2 times a. Well, the a value is 1, so 2 times 1. So we have negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 64 minus 20 all over 2. Continue your work. We have negative 8 plus or minus the square root of 44 all over 2. Now kids, you're not done yet. Okay? You can simplify that square root of 44. Okay? All right, let me do it right above. The square root of 44 can be the square root of 4 times the square root of 11, which is 2 square root of 11. Okay? So let's write this as negative 8 plus or minus 2 square root of 11 all over 2. Now, we're not at a point where we're matching our answers yet, but we can take this one big fraction and separate it into two smaller fractions. So let's write this as negative 8 over 2 plus or minus 2 radical 11 over 2. Now we can simplify each one of those. Negative 8 over 2, negative 4, plus or minus 2 radical 11 over 2. The 2's cancel, we end up with radical 11. And hey, it's like magic. We got the same set of answers that we got when we did completing the square. Okay? So we have solving a quadratic equation by both completing the square and using the quadratic formula.